funky disposition. Let me take it out, whatever you're doing. Better get up on the floor and get to moving. Oh yeah, can you feel the funk? Yeah, can you feel the funk? Yeah, say 1, 2 times and I feel the funk. Yeah, can you feel the funk? Yeah, can you feel the funk? Yeah, can you feel the funk? Yeah, say 1, 2 times and I feel the funk. Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, feel me now.
All right, hello Columbus, and welcome to the 2020 Women of Achievement event. Jammin' already. I am Angela Pace, member of the 1994 Class of Women of Achievement, and your host for the first ever virtual event. I hope all you guys are out there. I know Janelle Coleman is watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, today we are thrilled to honor 6 extraordinary women. Sandra Anderson, Allison Barrett, Francie Henry, Lisa Ingram, Dr. Anahi Ortiz, and Barbara Smoot. Okay, before we get started, a few housekeeping items for you. After all, this is the new normal for events. When you entered the event, your screen and audio were disabled, so no need to worry about everyone here seeing or hearing you. Sometimes that's not a good thing. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a chat button. Clicking on that button will bring up our chat box on the side of your screen. If you need help, find a 12-year-old or a millennial. They will show you where all this is. We want you to use this during the event. Use your chat button. Go ahead. Try it out. Fran Ryan, if you're out there, get somebody to help you. Try out the chat button. Say hello. You can congratulate today's honorees. You can share some of your love for your YWCA. Technology is great, ain't it? Well, since we can't be together in person today, let's make our new Women of Achievement feel our admiration and appreciation in this chat box today. And speaking of admiration, please help me welcome YWCA Columbus Board Chair, Sandy Doyle Ahern. Sandy?
Hello, and welcome to the 35th Women of Achievement celebration. Since 1985, YWCA Columbus has gathered the Central Ohio community together to honor exemplary women. This year, we're also recognizing 6 women on the rise. Young women in our community who have impressed us with their dedication to creating positive change in Columbus. I know that this city is in good hands with leaders like these women on the rise, and I really can't wait for you to meet them. These 12 women are change makers, and by being here and supporting YWCA Columbus, you are too. This event has raised over $700,000, which enables us to amplify the voice and impact of YWCA Columbus as we work to ensure all members of this community are empowered to live in dignity. Thank you to our 4 presenting sponsors, American Electric Power, Big Lots, Honda of America Manufacturing, and L Brands Foundation. Your support is vital. And thank you to our Academy sponsor, Cardinal Health. Throughout today's event, you'll have opportunities to give. It really is as easy as sending a text message, but the impact of that text will be profound. The funds we raise today will enable your YWCA Columbus to act as a beacon for good in our community, just like the women we are honoring this afternoon. It's time to lead with dignity, and it's time to start the show. Enjoy.
I am pleased to join you in celebrating the 35th class of the YWCA's Women of Achievement. Even though we are apart today, it feels good to be together with you and with the YWCA Columbus, an organization dedicated to empowering women, something that has always been important to Cardinal Health as well. It's an honor to be part of recognizing such a remarkable group of women this year. We're fortunate to have such talent right here in our community. At Cardinal Health, we work hard to ensure a respectful, diverse, and inclusive workforce where everyone is welcome and bringing 100% of themselves to work every day. Our values compel us to take a stand to address racism, and we're thankful to partner with an organization like the YWCA that has always made eliminating racism part of its mission. I know with strong leadership like that of women who we are honoring today, we can and will create a better community for all of us.
I am excited and honored to welcome the members of the Academy of Women of Achievement, who always bring joy, excitement, and distinction to this event, even in a virtual format.
Tanny Crane, I see you out there. Let's hear some shout outs for our Academy members in the chat box. Don't you like the way we danced our way through that? And if you are a member of the Academy joining us today, say hello. Let us know that you're with us. Mary Jo Green, I know you're out there. Hightower, y'all out there? And now a message from long-standing Woman of Achievement sponsor, L Brands. And thank you so much, L Brands, for supporting this event and YWCA Columbus. And now let's officially kick off the show with a fan favorite from last year's event, a chance to really get to know this year's honorees, a figurative seat at their table.
Well, I'm so honored to be here with all of our Women of Achievement for 2020. We have so many stories to share, and a lot of who we are is based in our experiences with our family, our community, our volunteerism, our jobs. This morning we got to meet with the Women on the Rise. They were very cool. I'm very jealous. They've left us some questions to help us get to know each other. So I'm going to pick the first orb that has a question. Tell us about yourself and background. What led you here today? Sandy, I'm going to let you kick this off.
I grew up on a farm in Ross County, that's southern Ohio. And I went to a little teeny school and then went to the, quote, big high school, all of 150 kids per class. Oh, it was huge. So I signed up for a debate class. And then my first day, I was terrified of the teacher, Mrs. Trutner. I was so shy, believe it or not, that I didn't know how to drop the class, and by the time I got around to figuring it out, it was too late. But it was the greatest mistake I ever made. Dropping the class would have been a mistake because that led me on to college, and it led me on to law school, and it led me to be sitting at this table with you wonderful people. You grew up in a smaller community too, as I remember, Allison.
Yes. I'm from a small rural town outside of Youngstown, Ohio. People really looked out for each other. You showed up for people. You know, you went to funerals, you cooked meals, you watched their kids, you took your friends' parents to the doctor. And what I learned was what people called volunteerism or charity was actually just being a good neighbor. And that has just led me to meet the most amazing people. Your experience was a little bit different.
I lived in a zip code that theoretically I was never supposed to get out of. Money was tight. I learned how to do math very effectively from going to the grocery store and being given a certain amount of cash. And from that, I learned the importance of working hard. I even worked on a tobacco farm. And after working on a tobacco farm, I knew I wanted to do well in college because I did not want to do that for the rest of my life.
You know, my story is somewhat similar in that I am the daughter of Greek immigrants. And they were poor, and they were trying to make a better life for themselves, and landed in Mount Vernon, Ohio, where, here's a shocker, they opened up a restaurant. But I'll tell you, the things that they taught us from very young, and that was not just the work ethic, the determination, but the risks that they took. I took great pride in my background and the experiences. And I actually believe that our differences are what bring us together.
It was interesting growing up in a family that was so associated with White Castle, and there was always this assumption that I would go into the family business. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and so I left Columbus and went to SMU, but I never lost the connection that I had to the restaurant industry because I waited tables in college. What about you?
I grew up in a big city, New York City, the Bronx. We lived in the projects. My mom, she raised us alone. There were 3 of us. And the actual building that we lived in, we called it Drug Central because it was the building that actually where the dealers hung out. So early on, we learned all about safety, and my mom was pretty adamant. You know, you take the stairs, you don't take the elevator.
Wow.
Let's choose another question.
Got it?
Yeah. So, orb number 2, ladies. Who are some people who influence your life and your journey?
I think for me, the most influential person has to have been my mother. She was an immigrant from Argentina. When I was growing up, she decided in order for us to get a good education, she had to learn English. and dragged the three of us where we sat underneath her desk and learned English under the table while she was learning English above the table. It was her that drove work ethic and hard work and education, the value of education into our little brains, and she made us what we were today. So.
I remember when I was in high school, a class, big class, 466 people in the class. And the results came out that I was number one. I was valedictorian.
That's right.
And someone had said, there is no way that black girl can be smarter than a white boy. And you know, my parents taught me to stick up for myself. And I turned around and I said, well, this one is.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. Believe it.
You know, at the end of the day, it's about not being afraid to stick up for yourself, to speak your truth.
Share a pivotal moment in your journey.
If I think about a pivotal moment for me, I moved back about 10 years after I left, and when I came back, I wanted to figure out how to get re-engaged in the community. I started to volunteer to tutor 6th graders in their math proficiency test, and these kids were from Mifflin and McKinley. For me, that pivotal moment was really getting introduced to those children. They had the same dreams, the same aspirations, but many of them didn't know how to multiply. They didn't know their multiplication tables. They didn't know what to do with a decimal point, and that really opened my eyes to a lot of need in the community that I felt compelled at a relatively young age to try to do some small part.
Some years ago, I was in a kind of a bad spot where I had unexpectedly lost my job. And 2 days later, my mother went into the hospital. And I went into this really awful, depressed mode. It got pretty dark. And eventually I was talking to a friend and kind of sharing how severe some of my thoughts were. And she just said, you're worth it.
Yeah.
You need to call me. I wouldn't be here if you weren't worth it. And that changed everything for me. And immediately I started reaching out to people that were colleagues or leaders in the community for me to help figure out what I was going to do with my life. And the women in this town, I cannot tell you how amazing and empowering. Every woman was like, yes, I'll meet with you. And every woman had a story like mine. And every woman, though their life looked perfect and tidy and happy, they had these dark moments, and they came out on the other side.
When we are in a position that we can give, my pivotal moment came not in just one moment in time, but just experiencing how gracious and good people can be. So when I'm able, that's what I try to do in return, because I know the difference between my ability to give and my need to receive is a very narrow margin. And that's what people saw in you, and that's what my family has experienced, and that's what I hope to provide in bringing up this city and this great town. I hope to be one of the women somebody mentions in a WOA video someday as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what we deem the great Columbus way that we all live in. It's a circle.
Oh, I just love those videos. What an amazing group of women and what great stories. And with that, let's add some new members to the YWCA Columbus Women of Achievement Academy. Now, each Woman of Achievement will be introduced by a 2020 Woman on the Rise, starting with Jordan Davis.
Hello, I'm honored to be here today introducing our next Woman of Achievement. I realized at a young age that in my DNA was an insatiable hunger to serve a bigger purpose, to help make organizations, systems, communities, and society work better so that all people could live their best lives. For me, being recognized as a woman on the rise is like a big pat on the back by the community and from women I truly admire. And they're saying, keep going, and good job so far. Today, I am so proud to announce Francie Honoree, who I admire for her contagious positivity, engaging humor, and confident approach to leadership. Part of what makes her great is her energetic support for others. She has a special way of making you feel seen and appreciated when you are with her. I am excited to celebrate her today as a 2020 Woman of Achievement inductee. Please join me in welcoming Francie Honoree.
The world has changed since I was first notified of this honor. The pandemic and the rightful focus on equality are front and center. But the message I want to share hasn't changed. I grew up in Mount Vernon, Ohio, as the daughter of Greek immigrants. We looked different and we spoke a different language, but we believed in the promise of America, education, hard work, and the opportunity of an open society. My parents were generous people who taught us philotimo, which describes actions and good deeds while expecting nothing in return. I was encouraged to reach out, include others, and judge people on the content of their character. We were taught that a rich and diverse culture enhances a community. Unfortunately, we know that not everyone agrees. That's why my philanthropy focuses on 3 areas: health and wellness, education, and inclusion. This foundation drives lasting change and fuels prosperity. Today is our opportunity to make sustainable change for our futures and our children's futures. My success is due to pivotal moments and but-fors: a helping hand, an unforeseen choice, a lucky break. Any accomplishments I've had were made possible by others. How do I pay it forward? It was made clear to me when I received a note from a young woman who was a recipient of a scholarship from the family fund my husband and I set up. And she said, and I quote, "You have inspired me to continue to help others and give back to my community due to your generosity. I hope to one day be able to pay it forward to another student who may be in a similar situation to mine." Now, you've all seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. You know that Greeks believe Windex can solve almost any problem. Philotimo is the Windex that resides within all of us and has the power to protect, preserve, and heal human life without judgment. It's time for us to appreciate one another for who we are.
I'm Techie Shackelford, and I am honored and delighted to be able to welcome Francie Henry into the Women of Achievement. She is certainly a very well-qualified candidate. She's transformative because of her intelligence, because of her wisdom, and because of her expertise in many worlds. Women ought to emulate Francie's wonderful qualities and experience. Thank you, Francie.
And congratulations, Francie. I have a new appreciation for Windex now, thanks to you. Before we move on to our next Woman of Achievement, a quick message from another presenting sponsor, Honda.
Hello, everyone. Honda is pleased to be a part of the 35th Annual YWCA Women of Achievement. During these challenging times, we recognize the importance of partnering with the YWCA and other organizations to address societal issues. We are committed to creating a diverse and equitable environment for our associates, customers, and communities that we serve. A recent study shows that 73% of people say for a company to be truly purpose-driven, it must be willing to take risks to address social justice issues. Our Diversity Steering Committee, chaired by our North American President and CEO, Sanjay Yayama-san, developed an Equality and Social Justice Task Force. These members are implementing real sustainable change right here in Ohio. Please stand with Honda and recognize that it's time. It's time to eliminate racism for good. Thank you.
Hello, beautiful people of Columbus and beyond. I am honored in these strange and difficult times to be introducing our next Woman of Achievement. As a woman on the rise, it has been an impeccable opportunity to be alongside such impressive women who are creating social impact for our community. The humility, and I'll be honest, straight up badass nature of this group has been inspiring. It has filled me with hope as we work to create change amongst many systems around us that are designed in some cases to push back. Together, we can overcome the difficult environment we are in, and that's what I think achievement is. Coming together as a community to move the ball forward in a positive direction. All of the women on the rise and Women of Achievement being honored here have done just that. Which is why it is my pleasure to announce our next Woman of Achievement, Lisa Ingram. As one of the top powerhouse leaders of business in Columbus, I have admired Lisa for quite some time. The YWCA actually afforded me my first opportunity to meet her in person via this event, where I was delighted to find that Lisa is just as impactful and worthy of admiration in person. In our discussions, it was clear she holds strong personal and professional values. She holds her family and her employees as a top priority, which to me is a hallmark of an impeccable leader paving the way for us all. So please join me in celebrating Lisa.
Being here with all of you today is beyond humbling. And what's even more humbling is to consider all the strong and courageous women who paved a wider and smoother path for us than the one they traveled. It's a path that we all have responsibility to build on. I'm optimistic that the division in our nation and in the city of Columbus is moving towards a time of empathy and resolve around creating more equitable pathways for African Americans. We all play an equally important and critical role in achieving racial equality. At White Castle, we've always tried to focus on our 10,000 team members in a way that feeds their souls and their successes. We have many team members who have worked for us for 20, 30, even 40 years. 98% of our restaurant leadership positions come from within our ranks. Our general managers who run our castles have worked for us on average of 21 years, and 40% are African American and 75% are female. We achieve this diversity by focusing on equal access to opportunity, promotion from within, and conducting trainings like implicit bias training with leadership. I'm very proud of where we are, but we still must do better. Hunger is one of our core values at White Castle, a hunger for tasty, one-of-a-kind steam-grilled sliders, but also a hunger for learning, advancement, personal freedom, and unity in our communities. Our hunger for all of these ideals will not be just words, but actions to do better and to continue to foster equal access to opportunity and diversity in our company. The trailblazing honorees who preceded me certainly knew the meaningful change will not happen without harnessing the power of an entire tribe and an entire community. As Maya Angelou said, do the best that you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. It's time, because now we know better, and together we must do better to achieve lasting change for generations to come.
Lisa, it is my distinct pleasure, honor, and privilege to welcome you to the Academy of Women of Achievement. For the past 22 years, I have watched you grow and thrive as a business leader, as a community leader, and as an amazing woman, complete with running a family business, having a great husband, and 4 amazing children. Your drive, sense of purpose, passion, and compassion are unparalleled, and for that, I thank you. So congratulations, Lisa, and welcome. Lots of love.
All right, and Lisa, you got a shout out. It says, White Castle congratulates our slider queen. And I have to tell you, the White Castle, the old one on East Main Street in Bexley, got me through college. It was all I ate during the entire 3 years I was at Capitol. And now let's welcome Victoria Alessi, our next 2020 Woman on the Rise.
Hello, I'm honored to be here today introducing our next Woman of Achievement. Being nominated as Women on the Rise reminds me every day that it is time to move out of our own way. As emerging female leaders in this community, we need to make time for difficult conversations, make time to listen to those who need to be heard, and most importantly, make time to stand for change. Something I've enjoyed about this experience is being in the company of such remarkable women, from my peer Women on the Rise to the Women of Achievement we are honoring. What a powerful group. I am so proud to announce Dr. Anahi Ortiz, who I admire for her service to our community as Franklin County Coroner. Her focus on prevention, education, and equity make her an important woman to recognize. Please join me in welcoming her.
Let me tell you about 2 young ladies, both 17 years old. The first was one of the top students in her high school, on her way to college, but she was painfully introverted and had low self-esteem. Her dad was an alcoholic, so she was being raised by her mom. The second one planned to go to college too, and was studying to finish school early. Like the first girl, she also had low self-esteem. Her mom had died of an overdose, and her father had his own addictions, so her grandmother took over the task. Both of these young women went on to attempt suicide. The second one went to her room after a fight with her grandmother. 5 hours later, she was dead by suicide. The first young lady attempted suicide after a fight with her mother. But here's where the stories diverged. A friend called her in the middle of her attempt to see why she wasn't at school. And that's when my life began, because I was that young lady. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people 10 to 24 years old. Here in Franklin County, we began to see a spike of suicides as COVID-19 hit. In May, we saw a 200% rise in all age groups. We are navigating unprecedented times. COVID-19 has brought about increases in stress and anxiety, and civil unrest has brought to light the racial trauma that a large part of our population is experiencing. Because someone reached out to me, I am here today. I urge each of you to trust your gut. If you feel someone is having a hard time, reach out, please. It's time that we start having real conversations with young people about mental well-being, particularly its impact on cultural differences, racial inequality, and our isolation, both physical and spiritual. If only we were more open to sharing our internal conflicts, then maybe so many people wouldn't see suicide as an option for escaping their pain.
Thank you for all the work that you have done as our Franklin County coroner, and also the work that you've done previous to that as a pediatrician and working with children, and also with working with our seniors at all of the health centers. Thank you for your volunteerism, and thank you for being a woman of achievement. And I will miss you today. I won't be with you at the luncheon, but I will be remembering you, and I'll be with you in spirit.
Oh, what a powerful story. We are so lucky to have you here in Columbus, Dr. Ortiz. Welcome to the Academy. And now let's hear about the impact your YWCA has had this year.
My name is Lauren James. I am the Manager of Leadership and Social Justice at YWCA Columbus. This past year has been a lot between the challenges we are facing with the pandemic and the violence against Black Americans. But even though it's been tough, we will rise and we will be stronger together. And the people at YWCA will continue to rise to lead the charge for sweeping social change. This is tough work and we can't do it alone. That's why we work to ignite the community in our efforts.
Good morning. It's so good to see you.
Well, since we're socially distanced, we can go ahead and take our masks off.
Okay.
Inequality is so embedded in our society. I'm really glad to work at an organization that's addressing that at every level as well.
Yes, we are supporting those in need. We also work, as you know, to ignite the community and have these tough conversations. We're experiencing two pandemics. We have a pandemic of COVID-19 and seeing the disproportionate impact that it has on our Black and Brown communities. But we also have a 400-year pandemic of racism. And we have to move forward with action when we have declared racism as a public health crisis. And the goal of all of these efforts is really to create that healthier, more equitable community.
Because racism is such a pervasive issue, we have to tackle it from all sides. Treating the symptoms of inequality, it is essential to do much more than shelter those in need. Homeless families need a supportive environment.
Here at the Family Center, we're always really busy, as you know. We are constantly promoting families and empowering them to go out and look for housing. Families can access the Employment Resource Center here and really do some resume building. And we have a 5-star child care center here. It really helps our families in being able to maneuver in the community and look for employment and look for housing. It's tough to be a child in a pandemic, in a homeless shelter, not being able to socialize, not being able to actually be in a classroom. It truly is a deficit at this point. IGS has really stepped up and assisted our families with hotspot, iPads, so that learning will continue here at the Family Center.
Educating and guiding young people, that's what will create the next wave of social change.
You know, I think that that's why it's so important that, you know, community education, empowerment, and leadership programs exist like Leadership for Social Change and Bright Futures, so that women are better prepared to recognize and challenge discriminatory practices and policies and beliefs within their workplaces and communities, and then have the confidence to speak up for themselves and others. And what's so amazing is that our participants not only go on to lead really influential careers where they themselves are agents of change, but they go back to their own communities and share what they learn with other people, which really helps us to spread the share of social change information with a bigger network than we would have had on our own.
So one thing that we prioritize with community engagement and education is a way to activate each individual community member in a way that feels authentic to them. What's important is that you're getting involved and that you're working towards advancing social change.
I'm thrilled to do this work with these passionate and inspirational girls and women.
Our communities have really rallied together to demand change, and it has been so inspiring to see so many people donating their time, money, physical safety, and freedom to advocate for change.
YWCA Columbus has a long legacy of not accepting the status quo, and we won't stop now. Now it's time to lead with dignity.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and showing us your support during these unprecedented times. I wish we could be together in person, celebrating this year's class of Women of Achievement. When we announced the honorees back in November, we had no idea how different things would be today. But while this new normal feels pretty strange, there's a lot that isn't new. 35 years ago, when YWCA Columbus began honoring Women of Achievement, the idea was to highlight women who were making a mark and a difference. That hasn't changed. This year's class, Francie, Barb, Anahi, Lisa, Allison, and Sandy are inspiring, groundbreaking, courageous people we're proud to call part of YWCA family. What also hasn't changed is that YWCA Columbus shines a light on who and what our community needs to see. Like today, we're highlighting incredible women who deserve our gratitude and respect. And sometimes, also like today, YWCA Columbus is highlighting tough challenges and major injustices. Because what also hasn't changed in 35 years is that communities of color, women, and people in poverty are still struggling. We know COVID-19 has disproportionately impacted people of color. We know that the Black community is reeling from 400 years of oppression, being policed and trying to catch up economically. And we know that racism in both its immediate and obvious forms and its long-term, often hidden effects is still taking lives and opportunities away from Black people. Today, I'm excited to share with you our updated advocacy agenda. This informs our engagement and policy work for the next 2 years. It is meant to capture the policy solutions we believe are necessary to create a more equitable community. Our priorities are housing justice, early childhood education, social justice and eliminating racism, and economic empowerment. I'm also pleased to share today our Social Justice Department will grow. They will be laser focused on our mission. They will educate, empower, and engage around racial equity, leadership development, and advocacy, armed with a new training curriculum, more staff, and updated programming. And so, while it seems like the world around us is shifting every day, please know that the work of your YWCA has never been clearer. We will keep standing up for people of color, women, and people in poverty to create a Central Ohio that is safe, healthy, and just. Because it's time to stand up against racism. It's time to fight for the dignity of every person. It's time to fulfill our mission.
Thank you so much, Christy. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you even more for your passion. What a year for YWCA Columbus, and so many exciting times ahead. Thank you, YWCA Columbus, for all that you do to move Central Ohio forward with your mission. And thank you to American Electric Power, our next presenting sponsor.
Congratulations to the YWCA and the honorees of the 35th Women of Achievement Awards. American Electric Power and the YWCA share a long history of creating access to the most basic human needs: emergency shelter, supportive housing, nutritious food, education, and employment. The COVID pandemic and the effects of systemic racism challenge us to be better. We stand united with you. Together with the YWCA, we're building brighter futures for women, our families, and our communities.
All right, I certainly hope that some of my Women of Achievement buddies are out there. Lori Marsh, are you there? You are retired now, you ain't got nothing else to do. Don Tyler Lee, I know you're busy, but I certainly hope that you're tuning in. Now, before we introduce our next Woman of Achievement, let's gather around the table one more time and look forward.
What a great conversation. It's so interesting that we come from different backgrounds, but we have so much in common, and helping others, reaching out. Let's see what the young people asked us next. Are you ready, ladies?
Yeah.
To many, you've reached the pinnacle of your career. What has fueled your growth outside of work?
15 years ago, I kind of activated my circle of friends around my birthday, March 4th. So I challenged my friends and family from around the country to March 4th and do good in their communities. And that can look however you want it. It could be picking up litter, it could be visiting the elderly, shoveling someone's driveway, making a donation to ACLU, whatever it looks like, right? Being a philanthropist or a community contributor doesn't mean you only do that through your monetary ways. And so people learn to understand that.
Different things have motivated each of us. With that in mind, what advice would you give to young women in the audience today?
Find something that you love to do and do that. If you don't have that opportunity to do in your day job what you love, volunteer, but make an impact and stay away from competing with the Joneses and all the material things.
I think we as women, I've seen this not only in myself, but in other women in our organization, we tend to listen to the little voice in our head that says we can't do this, or we're not qualified, or we're not good enough, versus listening to the voices outside of our head that are usually telling us, you know, you're doing a good job, you're very qualified for this role, you can do this. So I think that would be my advice.
You know, you don't have to go to the best school, and you don't have to grow up in the best neighborhood or have the most money. It's what's inside of you. It's that drive. The women here have come from little towns, not the best schools, not the best circumstances, single parents, not whatever, immigrants, and it's possible for everyone.
I would encourage young women to be kind. Kindness is an investment. You know, it does pay back and it pays forward. If you're grateful, you got a smile on your face, and that also is something that is a good investment to make.
Well, you emulate that behavior, so I'll bounce my quote off of listening and watching your storied career, and that is, you can be the architect of your own vision and not the victim of somebody else's view.
Yep.
You know, and that is by taking control and listening to the voice that's in your heart and in your head, and forging a pathway forward, not only for yourself, but others who need to see that in you, and the impact that you can make will pay dividends beyond your wildest dreams or beliefs.
Hello, I'm honored to be here today introducing our next Woman of Achievement. This is a special event, and to be included and recognized in it has been so meaningful to me. Throughout my life and in my career, I've often wished there were more people in leadership positions who looked like me. I'm so grateful that YWCA Columbus does this every year, spotlighting women of all backgrounds and the work that they're doing to make Columbus more equitable for us all.
A prime example of someone who puts in this work is Allison Barrett, who I'm so proud to introduce as our next Woman of Achievement. I admire her for her commitment to putting good out into this world in ways big and small. Please join me in welcoming Allison.
Mother Teresa said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." Now, I am far from Mother Teresa, but this is exactly what my parents taught my 6 siblings and me. Create ripples, be a good neighbor. You saw in today's video how in 2005, I celebrated my March 4th birthday by challenging others to march forth and do good in their communities. I tapped into my best resource, my large circle of family and friends. It started a tidal wave of goodness that continues today. How will you march forth? You don't need a big title, money, or social media brand. Quietly, I've donated, listened, advocated, mentored, and marched. I've volunteered with BESA, Nationwide Children's Hospital, Planned Parenthood. I was a big sister, a church deacon, elder, and Stephen minister. Every single experience showed me the depth of need and countless injustices in our world. Simultaneously, each experience filled me with hope. 2020 stinks, am I right? Politics are fracturing families, kids are still in cages, a woman will not be our next president, and women will still be harassed in the workplace. Black and LGBTQ neighbors are murdered while simply living their lives. A pandemic distanced us and devastated businesses. I won't even mention the murder hornets. In these turbulent times, it's easy to feel defeated, to believe nothing can change. But I'm here to tell you that serving your community and others does make a difference, one authentic moment at a time. Your voice, your art, your action, your vote, it all adds up to good. It can lead to change. Today, I'm asking you to hold on, to step up, make a difference in the life of another by sharing your unique gifts. I promise you will experience moments of grace and hope time and again. Now more than ever, it's time to march forth.
Allison Barrett, I think that I first met you when you walked into Carl and Kevin's house wearing reindeer antlers, and I think it was Easter time. I knew from that point on that you were going to be somebody special in my life. You have always proven yourself to be wicked smart, incredibly funny, warm, compassionate, and always thinking of ways to make life sweeter for somebody else. I am so lucky to have you in my friend zone and to be in yours. And so, Allison Barrett, my wild, wacky, warm, and wonderful friend, it is with great pride, pleasure, and love that I welcome you to the Academy of Women of Achievement. Welcome to the sisterhood, my friend. Nice job, Angela. Allison, my friend, I am so proud of you. Welcome to the Academy. And if I were anywhere near one of those little chat box things, I would certainly be chatting you up. So let's hear it for Allison in the chat box out there. Yay! Time now to welcome our next 2020 Woman on the Rise, Rhiannon Childs.
Being chosen as a Woman on the Rise means being in a community with female leaders as a catalyst for social change. It is a humbling and surreal experience, knowing that my commitment, fighting for gender and racial justice, resonates with others and empowers a broader collective of members in our community to rise and speak their truth. I am so proud to announce Sandy Anderson, who I admire for her guidance and bold leadership, serving as the board chair for Planned Parenthood of Greater Ohio and the first woman president of the Columbus Bar Association Board of Governors. Her representation and dedication to break through glass ceilings enhances our ability to see the difference we can make in determining the lives we want for ourselves, family, community, and beyond. One thing you will remember about Sandy is her contagious smile. It leaves a lasting impression on everyone. Thank you, Sandy, for not only using your voice to strengthen our community, but for sharing your warmth and kindness, reminding us that this work isn't possible if we can't be generous and loving to each other. Please join me in welcoming Sandy.
Once upon a time, downtown private clubs were for white men only. Women and minorities could be guests, But at the Columbus Club, we had to use the side door. The front door was for members only. One day, I linked arms with another ornery young lawyer who was African American, and he and I marched right through the front door without knocking. Now, it wasn't the suffrage movement or a women's march or a Black Lives Matter demonstration, but it was something, and change eventually happened. We can all do something for positive change, and when we team up, we are stronger. I am proud to be involved with teams working for fairness, equality, and access, such as Equality Ohio, working not only to change laws, but also to change hearts and minds. And this past June, there was a huge sea change when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled it is unlawful discrimination to fire someone because they are gay or transgender. Everyone deserves access to justice, no matter their means. The Ohio State Legal Services Association, also known as Legal Aid, is working on that. And every woman deserves access to health care, including reproductive health care. Planned Parenthood of Greater Ohio works on that every day. More women's voices deserve to be in leadership and at the public policy table. The Matriots Political Action Committee is working to elect more women to public office in Ohio. And guess where this diverse group, led by women, met a few months ago? The Columbus Club. When we team up, change happens. And I believe change is happening now for racial equality and equity and justice because people from all kinds of backgrounds are teaming up. Women are linking arms and marching through all the front doors at the courthouse, the doctor's office, and the State House. Join us because it's time. It's time for women to help women take charge.
Sandra Anderson, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Academy of Women of Achievement. Even though I can't be there with you today, know that I am cheering you on and celebrating you each and every day. Sandy's marquee leadership roles are many and varied, but it's not what's on her resume that makes her a woman of achievement, but what's in her heart. Congratulations and welcome, my friend.
And congratulations, Sandy. You are a wonderful addition to the Academy, long overdue. Before we move on to our final Woman of Achievement, let's hear from presenting sponsor, Big Lots.
Hello and good afternoon. I'm Lisa Bachman, Chief Merchandising and Operating Officer at Big Lots. I'm so honored today to be representing Big Lots, an organization where I've had the opportunity to lead and influence for the past 18 years. As a woman, creating equitable opportunities for other women is personal. That's why we're committed to our own diversity, equity, and inclusion journey, to create opportunities and visibility for women, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and for all of our associates facing systemic discrimination. That effort and the work of the Big Lots Foundation and YWCA Columbus matters. Because these systemic issues will not be resolved by one organization or one individual, but by all of us reaching together for equitable spaces, recognizing that women's rights are human rights, love is love, and Black lives matter. Every difference makes a difference in our businesses, in our neighborhoods, and in our circle of friends. It's time to come together and do the work. On behalf of all of us at Big Lots, all 35,000 of us, thank you for allowing us to join you in this work to eliminate racism, empower women, and create an equitable future for all of us. Stay safe, take care, and congratulations to this year's Women of Achievement recipient.
Hello, I'm incredibly honored to be here today introducing our next Women of Achievement. I am beyond humbled to have been recognized as a woman on the rise. Right now, we are witnessing history across our nation. We are at a pivotal time where change is being demanded and change is happening. It's time for us to stand united and use our voices, even when it's hard or scary, to eliminate racism, empower women, and promote justice for all. Being chosen as a Women on the Rise has empowered me to keep doing that and to continue to stand for our underserved communities. Something I've enjoyed about this experience is being in the company of such remarkable women who are doing just that. From my peer Women on the Rise to the Women of Achievement we're honoring, what a powerful group. And now I have the pleasure of announcing my friend and mentor, Barb Smoot, who I admire for her tenacity, boldness, and her commitment to advancing equity and justice. Barb is not afraid of speaking her truth and is one of the hardest working people I know. Please join me in welcoming Barb.
There's a proverb that says that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. That proverb reminds me every day how important it is to use my life experiences to make a difference for others. Let me tell you a story. Decades earlier, young parents brought their infant fifth child home to their trailer in a zip code they were never supposed to leave. That young mother would often sacrifice her own meals for her children. An acorn fell from a tree that day. That fifth child looks at you now, the CEO of Weld and proud mother of 3 precious children, Tania, Kevin Jr., and Waymond, determined to get more women at the leadership table. Isn't it time to increase economic prosperity for all? A decade later, that 12-year-old girl delivered the morning paper to dark, run-down apartments. She saw the aging tenants with empty eyes and no hope. Their sadness touched her heart, and another acorn fell. Today, that girl is now a woman, serving on the board of National Church Residences, determined to provide decent senior living and affordable housing for the elderly. As a teenager, she joined a group of girls and asked her manager for a raise to make the same amount as the boys, doing the same work. The manager says, "Sit on my lap and I'll give you a raise." The girl inwardly seethed. Now that girl, all grown up, has a seat on the Columbus Women's Commission and chairs the Gender Equity in the Workplace Committee, driven by the racial disparities and harassment she has seen. Isn't it time to end these inequities for women, and especially women of color? Those acorns have taken root, and I gratefully became the oak tree, now shedding acorns for the next generation. And the second best time to plant a tree? Today. Because it's time for all of us to plant ourselves squarely to end gender disparity, to eliminate the choking weeds of racism, ensuring that Black lives matter, and cultivate opportunity for all.
Barb Smoot, I am so pleased to welcome you today to the Academy of Women of Achievement. There are 2 things I think of when I think about all you have done. One is your commitment. You have made it possible for women to share their career paths, their talents and abilities with other women, and that has been such a significant accomplishment. The other is your authenticity. As the kids say, you are the real deal. Again, many congratulations to you and to the other ladies in your class.
And last but certainly not the least, congratulations and much love to you, Barb. Welcome to the Academy. Love your passion and love the sister hand on the hip. I mean that move. As we close out our show, I want to welcome Michelle Yeager-Thornton, co-founder and COO of the Champion Companies, who sponsored this event with a generous 35th anniversary donation match.
Now more than ever, Columbus needs YWCA. In April, we had a fundraiser with a goal of raising $35,000 on the day Women of Achievement was supposed to take place. YWCA raised more than $55,000 that day, and my company, the Champion Companies, matched $35,000 of that in honor of the 35th anniversary of this important event. We've been proud supporters of the YWCA for many years and recognize the increasing need for their work in Central Ohio. Since that fundraiser in April, it's become more and more evident that there is still much work to be done to uplift our city's most vulnerable families and put an end to the systematic inequality that continues to exist here. I ask that you join me today in supporting the YWCA in their mission to provide resources, services, and programs that shape the future of our community. $35 today will greatly impact the YWCA and the work that they're able to do tomorrow. It's time to use our voices and our platform to spread these messages that can create real change in Columbus, Ohio, and beyond.
And thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you, YWCA Columbus. And thanks to all of you out there for celebrating the 2020 class of Women of Achievement with us here today. All right, let's use that chat box one more time to congratulate our honorees, Sandy, Anahi, Francie, Lisa, Barb, and Allison. To all of you, welcome to the sisterhood. So glad to have you in the family. Remember, if you want to support YWCA Columbus's vital programs and services in Central Ohio, you can easily do so by texting the number on your screen. Again, technology, it's fabulous. I know that I will spend the rest of my day being inspired by our honorees and the work of your YWCA, and I hope that you do the same. Thank you. It's been great seeing all of you. You look absolutely marvelous, at least from the waist up. I don't know what you're doing from below with your sweats and your flip-flops and all the rest of that. But I miss all of you. Can't wait to see you all again. Stay safe. Mwah.